So, I love the softie trope in romance stories, or the sunshine x grumpy trope. They're not exactly one and the same, but they're close to it. And for K-dramas that I've watched, there's things like Cinderella and the Four Knights, plus Bride of Quebec. And then there are movies, of course, like your classic Beauty and the Beast, plus a less romantic version of the trope with Rogue and Logan from the original X-Men movies. But one of my all-time favorites of this trope actually doesn't canonically exist. It's the ship of ShadAmy. For those of you who might not know, ShadAmy is the romantic pairing of characters Shadow and Amy from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And for reference, I'm usually not one to ship characters that aren't in canon relationships. But ShadAmy with the footage I've seen of these two in-game, it's just something I could totally see happening if Sega were ever to start implementing any romance. So without further ado, here's my proof of ShadAmy and why I think it has so much more potential than SonAmy. Also, shout out to Daniel Pimentel 3868 for requesting this video. Thanks for giving me the idea. So, as of late, there isn't as much proof of ShadAmy, especially from the games. The comics are a little bit of a different story, however, I'm not as well versed in the comics. Plus, anytime I've tried looking up comics with Shadow and Amy in them, I just get ShadAmy fanfiction, so yeah, I'm just gonna be talking about evidence within games. Now, the first time Amy and Shadow ever meet in-game was rather anticlimactic, I guess. In the earlier games, Amy wasn't all that bright of a girl, so she mistook this guy for this guy in Sonic Adventure 2. And this wouldn't be the only time she does this too. She does it with Silver in Sonic 06 as well. So does my girl need to get a colorblind test or something? I mean, really, how could you confuse these three if you're Sonic's proclaimed girlfriend? Anyway, even still, Shadow doesn't really smack her away or anything. For an edgelord, he's fairly gentle and understanding. Unlike Sonic, who is very quick to shove Amy away in any of the games of this same era. And they're friends! Plus, after that, you have a very heartfelt conversation between Amy and Shadow within the same game of Sonic Adventure 2. Amy begs Shadow to help Sonic and friends, to which Shadow says no at first. But then as Amy keeps talking, he's reminded of Maria, quickly causing him to change his tune. And as he runs off, he says to Amy that
I have to keep my promise to Maria and you.
Which I find interesting, since he literally just met Amy like a few days ago, back when she hugged him. So why keep his promise to her as well as Maria? And this wasn't just some passing comment either, since in one of the scroll dialogue screens of the game, he actually thanks Amy for reminding him of his promise to Maria. Moving on to the next game, we have Shadow the Hedgehog, which only came out a few years later after Sonic Adventure 2. In this game, there's a whole level where Shadow helps Amy find Cream, another character in the Sonic franchise. Which seems like an innocent task in of itself, but again, this is Shadow. Maybe Sonic would do something like that, since he's the hero. But Shadow doesn't really care for anyone save Maria. Or at least, not to the extent to help someone for no reason. And Shadow even admits in another one of those scroll dialogue scenes that he has no reason to help Amy. See? This kind of generosity is very unusual for Shadow, especially since it's taking time away from what he was originally doing. I mean, it's not like he was just chilling at the beach when Amy asked him for his help. And then my last piece of game evidence is once again from the Shadow the Hedgehog game. This one is actually directed in Amy's direction though. Shadow just won the big fight against Black Doom, and there's a shot of all the characters being happy and congratulating him. Sonic and Eggman's lines are pretty on par with their characters. Meanwhile, Rouge is surprisingly worried for Shadow's safety. But then there's Amy who says,
I'm sure he's fine, Rouge. After all, he is Shadow.
And, what's that supposed to mean, Amy? She's usually all gushy like this over Sonic, not really any other characters. Maybe I'm wrong and she does say this about Tails and Knuckles too, but I don't think so. So I thought it was weird that they had her say this in this game. After this, however, the ShadAmy interactions stopped for the most part. Sure, they're in some of the same games, but nothing as one-on-one as in Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. Why? Well, I have a theory. I think Sega basically has their narrative and they want to stick to it. Between Sonic Frontiers and Sonic X Shadow Generations, with Amy being the first person that Sonic saves as a character, I think they're trying to squash the ShadAmy ship. Because even in some of the Olympic video games, Sonic and Amy have a special animation if they win something together. And not only does she do this with Sonic, but other characters as well. But not with Shadow. It's just like their single animations, only instead they're standing next to each other in the scene. Now, do I think this is a smart move? I think it's a good idea that Sega is progressing the character dynamics no matter what direction they go in. But I think that they're missing out on something by completely obliterating the ShadAmy dynamic. Shadow has his amazing backstory going for him, and Amy could have some serious growth if she hung around Shadow more. He's already more tolerant of her, and he definitely has more complex emotions than what Sonic has for the most part. Now, as good as a story as that would be, I still highly doubt that Sega will ever make this switch. Unless they do something with Sonic 4. Granted, I said I was just going to talk about the games in this video, but I have a feeling that whatever direction they go in with the movies between Sonic, Amy, and Shadow will be the ultimate voice of these possible romances. Since the movies are a little bit more heartfelt than most of the games, instead of all the characters being happy-go-lucky, save for Shadow essentially. Anyway, that's it for this video. It was a little shorter than some of my other stuff, but unfortunately with how animated Sega is about SonAmy over ShadAmy, there's not much more info I can go off of. So what do you guys think? Are you team SonAmy or ShadAmy? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!